Okay, I'm giving you my answer. Okay, so I would appreciate if you were respectful. You're next.
The next audience member asked about Naomi Klein's comments about being angry with those who say the Bush administration is incompetent, mentioning a conversation with her students about the usefulness of scorn as a position in this struggle, and asking if scorn offers a kind of detachment or complicity, and if there might be other identities or positions we might adopt, and if Ms. Klein had any thoughts about some right-wing Christian organizations that say democracy is evil, and how that might fit in with this stance of detachment and scorn.
Yeah, just so people know, we have to end in 15. So, I think that your question, there was an earlier question about the incompetence and whether the sort of hardcore ideologue types like Grover Norquist, are they genuinely angry at the Bush administration for budgetary mismanagement? Are they really incompetent? And your question about scorn, I think, is really interesting. Scorn and I suppose ridicule would be another way of what you're referring to. And I tend to agree with you, or I think what you're suggesting, that there's something disempowering about the stance of just sort of laughing at this administration. And it is interesting that if we think about how much of the highest profile dissent prior now, and I'm a big fan of The Daily Show and Colbert, but I don't think it replaces, nor should it replace, a much more serious stance of disgust and rage, not just laughter. And it may very well be replacing it somehow, acting as some sort of a release. I think humor has to be part of any movement, but there's I think something different between sort of between the kind of humor I'm talking about and the ridicule. And the constant ridicule, really. Because this is an administration that really deserves to be met with much more than just ridicule for these actions. And it doesn't create a space for a very seriously enraged response, or somehow makes that response seem ridiculous, a really deeply moral response. And but in terms of the incompetence, I don't believe that the true believers like Norquist really are all that mad at the Bush administration. Especially if we think about Norquist's collusion with Abramoff and how ready he was to be part of this kind of crony capitalist. I'm choosing my words carefully because he wasn't charged, but he was all over the Abramoff scandal. And what's happening at this moment is people are fleeing to their sacred texts because they are appalled by their creation. What happens when you have the most ideological government in history in terms of the willingness to really let the think tanks run the government, right? The hallways of the American Enterprise Institute echoed because they'd all been hired by this administration, right? And now they're upset because of overspending. So I don't give too much credence to this idea that the real ideologues are upset with the administration. I think that they're in an awkward situation, precisely because this administration welcomed them, followed so much of their advice, and the results are an indictment to the ideology. So what do ideologues do in that moment? Well, they say, well, they didn't apply the rules strictly enough, right? That's that's what fundamentalists do. Go back to fundamentals. But I don't really believe that this movement that we've been seeing, or this revolt of the elites, or this class war that I've been describing, really should be seen as primarily as an ideological project. I don't think it's ideology that fuels these policies. It's greed. And ideology serves as the cover story that makes that greed palatable. right? You're not really just trying to get incredibly rich. That's just an unfortunate side effect. What you are trying to do is actually help the most people possible through trickle-down economics, right? I don't buy it as a motivating force. I see it as a sort of cover story. Next question, please.
The next question had to do with the upcoming election and whether Naomi Klein had any advice for how to approach the campaigns. Another audience member asked if there would be a documentary about Naomi Klein's book, The Shock Doctrine. The next question asked if Naomi Klein had seen any of the evidence collected and published by David Ray Griffin that supports the view that 9/11 was an inside job. The next member of the audience to speak, referring to the trials of Nazi war criminals at Nuremberg, asked Naomi Klein why there had been no attempt to try the members of the Bush administration for war crimes. Another audience member asked whether the commercial media intentionally create confusion, putting us into a state of confusion, which is itself a form of shock. The next question was from a member of the local PDX Peace Coalition, asking Naomi Klein to sign the petition supporting the local campaign to make Portland, Oregon a sanctuary city for GI resistors for U.S. soldiers refusing to serve in Iraq.
Yes. Your very, very first signature will come from the daughter of a draft dodger. It's true. I am an American. I have dual citizenship. We came to Canada in 1967. I was born in Montreal, 1970. Where? Newark, New Jersey. That's where my dad's from. My mom's from Philadelphia. Well, we came because of the war, but we stayed because of the health care. There are a lot of questions. I'm going to finish this. Yeah, you can take it.
Finish it later.
Yeah, you got the idea. There was a lot there, but I think that would be an amazing response, and in Canada we're having a really pitched battle right now. My family did come to Canada because we happened to have had a prime minister at the time that said that Canada should be a refuge from militarism, and we have a very different prime minister now, so it's really a battle whether the war resistors are going to be able to stay, and it's a really crucial piece of the struggle. I'm going to get through these questions now, and then we're okay. Yeah. The eugenics question is an interesting one. I'm not sure I have much to add. I mean, I don't think it's a huge part of it, but I think when push comes to shove, for a lot of the people we're talking about, you start to get some pretty ugly ideas about who deserves to survive, and it doesn't take much to get to that sort of language. It starts to emerge really, really quickly, including in New Orleans, like those people, they chose to live there and they can't take care of themselves, and so it starts to go down that road pretty quickly. I don't know why they haven't gone to The Hague. People have tried. There's been some incredible work, and the center, the CCR, Center for Constitutional Rights, and Michael Ratner and his whole team have just been absolutely incredible, real heroes, American heroes.